10 minutes is a very brief period of time. You may even have a quick conversation with a friend. Actually, within those 10 minutes, you'll be able to finish listening my presentation about do playing violent video games will encourage the players to become violent in real life. In those 10 minutes, the beliefs on playing violent video games will encourage players to become violent in real life will vanish from your mind. The need for understanding whether playing violent video games will encourage the players to become violent in real life is crucial, as it also surprisingly provides a lot of positive impacts such as enhanced well-being, problem-solving skills, intergroup relations, and physical activity. I'll begin by telling you the reasons why we should stop blaming video games for real-world violence.
People kept blaming playing video games may lead to aggressive behavior, but there is no evidence to support these claims that violent video media and real-world violence are connected. As far back as 2011, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that research did not find a clear connection between violent video games and aggressive behavior. Often, when a young man is a shooter, people try to blame the tragedy on violent video games and other forms of media. For example, El Paso shooting on August 3 that left 21 dead and dozens injured, a familiar trope has re-emerged. Many policymakers incline to blame violent video games for violence. The first is the psychological research community's efforts to market itself as strictly scientific. This led to a replication crisis instead, with researchers often unable to repeat the results of their studies. Particularly in the early 2000s, double evidence regarding violent video games was uncritically promoted.
More people say the level of violence on video games is really shaping young people's thoughts.
But over the years, confidence among scholars that violent video games influence aggression or violence has crumbled. As the Supreme Court noted, any impacts due to video games are nearly impossible to distinguish from the effects of other media like cartoons and movies, and it claims that there is consistent evidence that violent video games encourage aggression are simply false. Spikes in violent video games' popularity are well known to correlate with substantial declines in youth violence, not increases. These correlations are very strong, stronger than most seen in behavioral research. More recent research suggests that the releases of highly popular violent video games are associated with immediate declines in violent crime, hinting that the releases may cause the drop-off. Now, I am sure that you can see the need for people to understand why we should stop blaming playing video games will encourage players to be violent in real life. But you might be asking, is playing violent video games correlated with real-life aggression? Let me tell you the based on psychology perspective. Violent video games help an individual become more aware of their environment. There is a need in violent video games to complete specific tasks as part of their goals. Games receive a significant amount of practice locating items that may be in the background, hidden in a map, or on a cluttered screen. Their ability to find items that are challenging is about 30% higher than it is for someone who does not play games regularly. The accuracy rate is also 50 percentage points higher for someone who is a regular gamer, defined as being active 30% per week or more compared to one who is not. This trait makes it possible for individuals to locate potential threats in real-life environments with greater speed and accuracy when compared to someone who doesn't play video games. The game also walks the player-driven strategies for dealing with depression, anger, and frustration with the aim of building coping skills. About 44% of those who play Sparks recovered completely from depression, compared with 26% of those in regular treatment, a significant difference. About 66% in the gaming group showed at least a 30% reduction in symptoms, compared with 58% in usual treatment, but this difference did not reach statistical significance. It can be concluded that When dealing with depression, a multidisciplinary classic team of psychiatrists and psychologists could be upgraded with the participation of game designers. Thus, they can all work together to develop innovative approaches to the intervention for depression in children and adolescents. The level of violence in society is going down, while violent video game title numbers rise. Although there are some direct ties to video game violence when law enforcement officers question some criminals about their motives for a crime, the average person does not have their choices influenced by this action. The juvenile arrest rate for all the offenses in the United States has declined by 70% since 1996, when it reached a population for teens and adolescents. Even schools are less violent today than they were in the 1990s. Despite the higher number of school shootings that occur, there are fewer fights and problems with bullying in public schools now than there were 20 plus years ago. Playing video games increases an individual's concentration and focus. People who play video games, including violent content, for at least 3 hours per week have more concentration and focus during their real-life activities compared to those who do not play games at all. This advantage includes a 40% improvement in the overall quality of work being performed, along with a 30% boost in the speed of productivity. All professions and careers, including laparoscopic surgeons, according to the data published by Iowa State University. I bet you can see there is positive effect of playing violent video games. Now let's look at real factors that relate to aggression behavior in order to prove that playing violent video games will not encourage players to become violent in reality. It is important to understand the cause of your aggressive behavior. The question is, what causes aggressive behavior? Many things can shape your behavior. One of them is physical health, mental health, family structure, relationships with others, work or school environment, societal or socio-economic factors, individual traits, life experience. As an adult, you might act aggressively in response to negative experiences. For example, you might get aggressive when you feel frustrated. Your aggressive behavior may also be linked to depression, anxiety, PTSD, or other mental health conditions. Next is causes. Many mental health conditions can contribute to aggressive behavior. For example, these conditions include autism spectrum disorder, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, which is ADHD, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, conduct disorder, intermittent explosive disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder. Brain damage can also limit your ability to control aggression. You may experience brain damage as a result of stroke, head injury, certain infections, and certain illnesses. Different health conditions also contribute to aggression in different ways. For example, if you have autism or bipolar disorder, you might act aggressively when you feel frustrated or unable to speak about your feelings. If you have conduct disorder, you will act aggressively on purpose. Causes in children. These can include poor relationship skills, underlying health conditions, stress, or frustration. Your child might imitate aggressive or violent behavior that they see in their daily life. They may receive attention for it from family members, teachers, or peers. You can accidentally encourage it by ignoring or rewarding their aggressive behavior. Sometimes, children lash out due to fear or suspicion. This is more common if your child has schizophrenia, paranoia, or other forms of psychosis. If they have bipolar disorder, they might act aggressively during the manic phase of their condition. If they have depression, they might act aggressively when they feel irritated. Your child might also act aggressively when they have trouble coping with their emotions. They might find it especially hard to deal with frustration. This is common in children who have autism spectrum disorder or cognitive impairments. If they become frustrated, they may be unable to fix or describe the situation causing their frustration. This can lead them to act out. Children with ADHD or other disruptive cognitive disorder may show a lack of attention or understanding. They may also appear impulsive. In some cases, this behavior may be considered aggressive. This is especially true in situations when their behaviors are socially unacceptable.
As you easily can see, playing violent video games will not lead to violent behavior to the players. More studies had conducted shows that playing violent video games had no evidence to support the effect of playing violent video games on youth violence and bullying. Rather, it was found that bullying and delinquency were affected by the stress level and the aggression trait of the child. Just imagine today, you can make some serious money by playing video games. Instead of teaching young people to become criminals to make some quick buck, the e-sport industry is showing that the next generation of gamers can take their skills to a professional level in order to earn a reasonable salary. Thus, playing violent video games should not be blamed for bad pupil or. That's all from me. Thank you.